You know what? It's insane how Usain Bolt broke world records in running and is considered the fastest human ever timed.
Yes, he's one of the greatest sprinters the world has ever witnessed, and he won gold in 3 straight Olympics since 2008.
Whoa, that's awesome. He must have burned a lot of carbohydrates to produce energy for his muscles.
Indeed. Speaking of energy, can you think of what exactly fuels our cells to do any work?
The best I know is that glucose gives instant energy for every type of cell once it gets broken down.
Yes, but to be more precise, it is ATP. The glucose we consume gets converted to ATP, which gives us energy. Did that tickle your memory?
ATP. You mean adenosine triphosphate? Yes, I remember very well. We came across it a lot when we learned about mitochondria and chloroplasts. It's been quite some time since we last talked about it. Wait, so are you trying to relate ATP with Bolt's winning performances?
Not just Bolt. ATP is related to the energy needs for all living organisms, and that's what today's topic is all about.
Wow, it sounds so exciting. Let's get started.
That's the spirit. All right, let me start with an easy question for you. What do you think the living organisms need energy for?
Well, it's literally for everything. I mean, no energy means no work. It's hard to imagine living organisms performing any activity that does not need energy.
That's right. But what about the energy needs of living organisms at the cellular level? Can you try to give some examples?
The easiest ones I can recall are activities like producing polysaccharides, proteins, lipids, DNA, and RNA in cells. Also, transport of substances across the cell membrane, contraction of muscle cells. Teacher, I think the list would go endless this way.
That's right. So let's make it shorter by considering 3 major activities.
Good idea. What are they, teacher?
Firstly, there is active transport of ions and molecules. Secondly, there is movement, as of the cilia and muscles. And the third type includes all the anabolic reactions such as DNA replication and protein synthesis.
Yes. Now that's quite easier to sum up. So if all these activities need energy, I'm sure they all must be linked with energy yielding reactions to fulfill their energy demands, right?
Yes, but when it comes to energy needs, the energy yielding reactions are linked with energy consuming reactions via the universal intermediary molecule, the ATP. In other words, ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Every cell actually trades in ATP for its energy demands.
It sounds like ATP is used by the cells just as countries do their international trade in US dollars.
That's a good analogy.
Finding this helpful? We have additional learning resources to offer. For Cambridge IGCSE and AS A-level subjects.
So teacher, what makes ATP so special that it is entitled the universal energy currency for all cells?
Well, beside the linking role played by ATP, its structural features help it to qualify for such a title. Let's briefly have a look at its structure to find the answers. As you can see, the structure of ATP consists of 3 parts. Firstly, there is a ribose sugar. Secondly, there's a nitrogenous base called adenine. And the third part includes phosphate group. Adenine, together with the ribose, is called adenosine. That's what the A in ATP stands for. To this adenosine, a phosphate group containing 3 phosphate molecules is attached. Moreover, adenosine can be combined with 1, 2, or 3 phosphate molecules to give, in turn, adenosine monophosphate, adenosine diphosphate, or adenosine triphosphate respectively. Adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, has all its energy in bonds between the phosphate molecules, and the 2 outer phosphate molecules contain high energy bonds because more energy is released when they are broken. So, When a phosphate molecule is removed from the ATP by hydrolysis, adenosine diphosphate is formed and 30.5 kilojoules per mole of energy is released. And when the second phosphate molecule is hydrolyzed, adenosine monophosphate is produced and again 30.5 kilojoules per mole of energy is released. Whereas the hydrolysis of the last phosphate molecule results in adenosine releasing only 14.2 kilojoules per mole of energy. All these reactions are reversible. Remember, it is the interconversion of ATP to ADP that is all important in providing energy for the cell.
I see. So the best thing about ATP is that it gets easily hydrolyzed to provide energy to cells in need, right?
Yes, not only is ATP readily hydrolyzed, it is also small in size and water soluble. This allows it to be easily transported within cells or cytoplasm. All these features make ATP the universal energy currency.
Oh, I see. Until now, I assume that cells run after storing energy molecules like glucose or starch for all their energy needs.
You're partially correct, but be careful to distinguish between molecules used as energy currency and as energy storage.
Huh? What do you mean by that? Don't they mean the same?
No, they're not the same. Biological molecules like glucose or sucrose are energy storage molecules for short term, and molecules like glycogen, starch, or triglyceride are for long term. In other words, they're like banks that provide us short term or long term loans. Whereas ATP is the currency that is traded for transactions. In other words, ATP is an immediate energy donor to energy requiring reactions of a cell.
I see. Teacher, how do cells produce ATP? Is it just from ADP or are there other ways too?
Yes, you guessed it right. There are also other ways for producing ATP besides the ADP. Essentially, ATP is produced from ADP in the membranes of chloroplast and mitochondria, and this process is called chemiosmosis.
Register now for free.